again. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, good evening, and welcome to our July 2025 book review. I'm sure we have new joiners here this wonderful evening, and we're happy to have you. So, we'll just give a little brief about this great book club. It's called the Tri-Metropolitan Book Club, and it's an initiative of Trinity House. We may be wondering who or what Trinity House is. Trinity House is a church, is a non-denominational, free-flow worship center powered with a vision to changing lives, fulfilling destinies, and transforming nations. So, a few years ago, about 4 years to be precise, just about during COVID, we started the book club. Before the book club, we have what we call the Tri-Metropolitan Club. So the Tri-Metropolitan Club is basically a social club, clean gathering where we come together maybe Friday evenings, Friday nights, just to have fun, listen to music. We have DJs, we have clean music, we have, have fun, eat, drink, no alcohol, play games, karaoke. We could review a book. We just generally relax rather than going to nightclubs. So we relax, have fun, meet with each other. So it's an avenue. Usually we meet via Zoom, but it's an avenue to meet physically and put faces to the names. But of course, COVID happened. So we've been to boat club and we use different hotels like the Four Points by Sheraton, Oriental Hotel, and the likes. But COVID happened, and of course, we couldn't meet physically anymore. So we thought to ourselves, what next? What do we do? We don't know when this pandemic will end. How do we come together? How do we maintain our relationship? So we came up with this initiative called the Tri-Metropolitan Book Club. In fact, the gentleman who specifically, brought up the idea is at this review right now, and I can see his name, I can see his face in quotes also. So we started the book club, and it was fun about 4 years ago, October. So this year will be exactly 4 years in the month of October. So we started a book club, reviewing different books, John Maxwell books, motivational books, leadership books, health, lifestyle, religious, and so many other types of books. So it's been fun meeting virtually. However, we had a physical meeting at some point when we had our first year review. So we've had a few, physical reviews. But the first review that was physical was during our first year anniversary, like 4 years ago, or 3 years ago, as it were, with Professor Wale Shoinka at the Cilantro Restaurant in Victoria Island. It was a magical evening. It was fun. It was packed. It was really nice. We had a really good time. And so a number of people have been saying, let's do this again. So last year we did something a little bit, yes, at the Art Hotel at Yesufu Abiodun Way in Oniru. And we came together, we did book review, we had fun, we eating, just meeting generally with everybody. So it was our third year anniversary. We did have anybody outside of the book club come to review the book. We had two gentlemen from the book club who reviewed the book we had started in October. And, we had such a wonderful time just bonding, listening to music at the terrace of the Art Hotel. So it was fun. But I'll tell you what, this year will even be funnier, if there's any English word like that, more fun. Our fourth anniversary is in October, and we're bringing somebody special. I won't let the cat out of the bag yet, but stay tuned on that. So, like I said, we have reviewed different books, motivational leadership, lifestyle, and all of that. And today is unique for me. You know why? It's been 4 years, about 4 years, like I've reiterated, and we've never done a book of fiction. Today, we're going to listen to Tewa Moda. I've read the book. This is the book, Fragments of Time, Fragments of Glass and Time, Forgot. Very interesting book. I didn't want to put it down. I told us on the WhatsApp group platform that, the prints, very friendly. You can read it in less than 2 hours if you're dedicated to it. Imagine, taking a flight somewhere. Within 2, 3 hours, you would read it. You would finish reading it. Very interesting book with a twist and turns. I'm sure you've been seeing some of my reviews on the general WhatsApp platform. But for those who are just joining for the first time, you're wondering about the WhatsApp platform. During the course of this review, in the chat room, we'll give more details. We'll send you numbers where you can send your details to so that you can be part of the book club. Don't feel overwhelmed. You have people usually will ask, when I join the book club, what am I? What are the expectations? You're not expected to do anything, just to join every month, just like today. All you need to do is read the WhatsApp messages, just to give you information about what we're doing or what the next book review will be like. So, having said that, usually we'll have a senior pastor. I mentioned that it's an initiative of Trinity House. So Trinity House is a church, like I said earlier, but this book club is not a Christian, it's an initiative of a church, but we have everybody here, no demographics, age, no age barrier. We have Muslims, we have Christians. You understand, you get the drift. So yes, it's a book club for everybody. So, but the senior pastor of Trinity House is Pastor Itua Olajide Igodalo. So I'm just trying to check if he's here now. He's not here now, but he will join us shortly because tomorrow is our communion and ordination service. So we have some ordinees, those to be ordained tomorrow. So he's in church speaking to them at the moment. So they have a series of activities going on in church before their ordination tomorrow. So yes, he will join us shortly because he might be speaking now. And that's one of the reasons why you saw that on the WhatsApp platform, somebody mentioned a little bit after 5 that the platform wasn't open because we have parishes in London, South Africa, Mowe, Aja, Ikeja. So some people like those in London and South Africa had to log in via Zoom. This is the Zoom platform. So we had to move them to another Zoom platform just for this book review. So ladies and gentlemen, without much further ado, I'd like to quickly introduce our guest for this evening, Tewa Moda. I'm sure you've been wondering. Some have asked me, we say Tewa Moda, we also say Omowale David Achiru. I'm sure she will shed more light when she comes to the platform. But before she opens up her mic and, of course, her camera, her video, let me quickly do like a brief introduction. Just very brief. So Tewa Moda is the pen name for Omowale David Ashiru. Like I said earlier, she would, draw more lights, give more lights, open up who Tewa Moda is. So Tewa's day job is managing the commercial operations that support thousands of schools and millions of children across multiple continents. When she's not doing that, she loves translating the hustle, bustle, and the intricate juggling and near misses of a high-paced life into stories. Tewa graduated with a first class in economics from the University of Ibadan, Nigeria, and then with a distinction in MSc in leadership and strategy from the London Business School. She kicked off her career working in one of the world's foremost management consulting firms for 11 years. She founded and ran a successful retail company for about 9 years, about a decade. And later she was appointed the country director and later the vice president of global operations of a software engineering firm operating across Africa. Right now, she's currently, in her current role, she's the chief commercial officer in a multinational education technology company. She believes she's lived 4 different lives. So imagine a career in consulting and then doing her own retail business for about a decade, then country director for a software engineering company, and now she's in EduTech, education technology. So she believes she's lived 4 different lives and counting. She intends to become a best-selling author in her fifth life. And ladies and gentlemen, Fragments of Glass and Time is her debut, her first book. So, Omowale, please unmute and let's see your face. And the platform is yours for another 45 minutes. So sometimes our guests will say 45 minutes. That's too short. I need an hour. Tommy, I need an hour. Some will say 45 minutes. They will even speak Yoruba. I say, Kini Moma song for 45 minutes. But Moale, you have 45 minutes, give or take, plus or minus. And thank you very much for honoring this this invitation. I said information. And maybe I should just chip in. I've known Moale for about 4 decades. Yes, we were in Queen's College together. She was in my class. So all this first class that you're saying is from QCO. Omoale was a bookworm. She would read late at night. I'm like, what are you reading? Are you in university? Come on, we are still in high school. Well, yes, here is Omoale. Omoale, thanks for being a great friend over the last 4 decades. And I'm happy that you're here to come and share about your debut book, Tewa Moda. So the floor is yours. I'll mute my mic now and you can go ahead. Thank you, Mawali.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Tomero. Can you all hear me? I hope so. I have a backup anyway, so if you can't hear me, just let me know and then I'll switch to my other mic. All right, I'm very excited to be here. Thank you so much, Tommy, for having me here and for inviting me. I do not take it for granted at all. I've been a part of this book club, and we know we've reviewed so many fantastic books, but this is the first time we're going to be reviewing fiction stories. So no pressure on me, but I'm honored that you would pick my book as the first. And so, I mean, just small story for everyone here in terms of the 45 minutes. When just about 2 hours ago, told me, right? I was like, okay, so what is the format? And then Tommy says, oh, you are going to talk for 45 minutes. I'm like, talk about what? This is fiction. Unless I want to come and tell the whole story. What am I doing here? I thought, we'll just be asking questions. So I said all of that to say that the format is, we're just all going to contribute into this format because it's not like our previous book reviews, which are non-fiction. Um, the other thing that is a bit tricky, and I'm always honest anyway, is that this book, the beauty of this book, for those who have read it, is the twists, the turns, not knowing what's going to happen. And so I'm mindful of that because I know maybe not everyone has read it. So I also don't want to put spoilers out there so that you can actually get the full experience of the book. So maybe if you could just do me a favor, at least for those who are here, if you've read the book, can you just put on the chat that you've read it? And I mean, this is not judging. I just want to know how much I can say and how much I shouldn't say. So I wish I could do a poll, but I don't think we have time for that. So if you could just put that, just if have you read it, yes or no? So just put yes or no in the chat. So I have an idea of how many people, at least out of those who have joined, have read the book. So if I see a lot of no's, then I know how much I can say. Yes, yes, yes. Okay. So far, I see yeses. Okay, see one no. Somebody's thinking whether they read it or not. Yes. Oh, I see my uncle, Dr. Shay Roberts. Okay, this is not the time to start shouting out people, but I'm really excited to have him here. Okay, just the preview. Okay, so well, a number of people who are here have read it, but some haven't. So what I'll do is I won't tell the story. I will give a sort of like a synopsis of it, and then maybe what I'll do is I'll read excerpts from the book. So I'm going to read somewhere from the beginning, somewhere sort of from the middle, and somewhere from the end. I will do that so that it will whet your appetite for those who haven't read it. For those who have read it, you will understand maybe why I'm reading that part. But I'll also tell you why I'm reading that and what it means for the story and even for me. So, Fragments of Glass and Time. What is it about? It takes us deep into Lagos, where Chinwe, a beautiful, successful, but somewhat unlucky in love 31-year-old, is stood up for the third time at an upscale restaurant. She doesn't know that this date isn't just a, no show. It's actually a trap. Actually, that night, the charming CEO who was supposed to meet her, Olu, plans to unleash a calculated act of revenge on a whole bunch of people. Why? Years ago, his life was shattered when betrayal stripped his family of wealth, leading to the death of his parents. And now he's built himself back up, formed an unbreakable bond with two guys, who share his scars. And together they've orchestrated a night of reckoning. And so, in a shocking hostage like situation, which you wouldn't really expect in Lagos or Nigeria, Olu and his partners reveal hidden crimes of Lagos's elite, just shocking stories and executing them one by one. The shocking part of the book, of the story, is not knowing who, when, and how it would take place. And every action just brings more and more shock to everyone. Chinwe, who seems to be remember she was stood up, but she's also here. So she seems to be an innocent bystander, but she survives all of this thanks to the bravery of her neighbor, Kunle, a quiet admirer slash lovesick best friend. But the experience changes her forever. So for Olu, as the events take place at this upscale restaurant, there's a part where something about what Chinwe says, pierces through years of bitterness, and as justice is served and he realizes she was only a victim of circumstance, he breaks his vow for the first time. He'd wanted to kill her, and anonymously he offers her peace. In all, the story is about how shattered lives can intersect. It's about how revenge happens and its unintended consequences. It's about whether broken glass can ever be pieced back together when time has passed. So that's the synopsis of the book without saying too much. So I will go straight into reading excerpts of the book just so that you can hear. So I'm going to start from chapter 1. If you have the book, you can turn to it. If you don't, it's okay. I like reading, so you'll enjoy hearing it from me. So page 10. Everybody, come to the center of the room, the leader bellowed out. That voice is definitely Olu's, Chinwe thought. The way he rolled R when saying room was too unique. At first, nobody moved. But by the time 3 shots were fired in succession, everyone ran out from their various hiding places towards the center of the room. Chinwe was conflicted. Her table was in a corner and she was well hidden underneath it. Should she risk exposing herself or just hope nobody would decide to check under the tables? She pondered. It was a spacious restaurant with many angles. It was shaped almost like a pentagon. There were at least 20 tables, a huge bar, a private grand piano stand, a large stage where the band had abandoned their instruments while fleeing for cover. And there was a dance area opposite the band, which was also at least 25 square meters wide. It would take the mercenaries some time to comb through the place, she thought to herself. She decided to stay hidden. It also crossed her mind that if they found her, perhaps Olu would not be willing to kill her. Although, who was she kidding? She didn't know him that well. In fact, based on everything going on now, she didn't know him at all. He was the one who picked the restaurant, so he obviously had this planned. But why did he bother fixing a date with her? She was still thinking about all this when another shot went off. She peeked and saw what looked like a head split open and separated from the body. She recognized the shirt. It was the young guy who had been holding on to his lady. She stifled a scream. Why did they shoot him? As if in answer to her unspoken question, one of the mercenaries said, anyone who thinks they're in a movie and wants to be a hero will end up like this stupid guy. Okay, so these guys were not playing. Now it was too late for her to come out. They would shoot her if she tried any sudden moves. She suddenly heard footsteps coming towards her table. Her heart pounded as she held her breath. The footsteps stopped in front of her table, and then Olu said, Chinwe, come out. So that's the first, I'm going to stop there. That's the first excerpt that I will read from. And so this kind of sets the tone for those who haven't read the book and for those who read the book, about what is about to happen and just the surprise and the entire shock. Why I like to read this part is also just a personal story. When I was writing this book, and for people who write, whether you write books or articles, sometimes you don't really know what you're going to write. You don't know what's going to happen. This was the part that really made me feel like I had a book worth writing, especially page 12, because I was like, okay, what's going to happen next? It was as if I was watching, the movie or the book. And so it introduces the entire plot, but not enough to divulge who's the hero, villain, or the victim. Right now, it looks like, it's Chinwe the victim, it's only a bad guy, but you don't really know because you don't know what's happening. So that's the first one. I'm going to go on to page 35 to, yes, page 35. Okay. Kunle ended the call. So I'm introducing a different character now. Kunle ended the call. He felt so helpless and angry, so he got out of the car and headed towards the restaurant. As he walked on with determination, he remembered how he and Chinwe had met. He had been looking for a small but cheap apartment on the island. Having to drive daily from his one-bedroom flat in Magodo on the mainland was killing him. The traffic to work every morning from Lagos mainland to Lagos Island was usually no less than 3 hours. Going back at night was even worse. It didn't help that his car was a shift stake and he also worked most weekends. He loved his job in the bank. Most people complained and whined, but he genuinely loved working in the treasury unit of the bank. He'd always loved finance and figures and dreamed of one day heading the bank and perhaps becoming governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria or the minister of finance for the country. He was passionate about all things finance. He'd worked at GT Bank, a leading Nigerian multinational financial institution, for only 3 years, but he was already making a mark. His boss liked him, so did his boss's boss. He was ambitious, intelligent, hardworking, and eager to learn. But to really make his mark and reach his goal, he knew he had to change his living arrangement. Otherwise, he would burn out before he got the chance to really shine. The more he thought about it, the more he realized he needed to move. So he reasoned with himself that he could now afford to live on the island a bit closer to work. If he lived on the island, he wouldn't have to leave work so quickly every night just to be able to beat the traffic to the mainland. Imagine all the extra work he could get done, he thought to himself. Kunle couldn't believe he was happy to be moving closer to work so that he could get more work done. Kunle, you need to get a life, he silently chided himself. So a friend had linked him up with someone who wanted to rent out a flat in Dolphin Estate, Ikoyi. The price was almost too good to be true. Kunle was sure there was a catch, and indeed there was. The flat was a mess. Water in the walls, peeling paint, part of the ceiling had broken off, the floor tiles had come off in many places. The list of issues was almost endless. But something happened that made him forget about all the issues. It was about 6 p.m., the earliest time he could leave work that day to view the apartment for the first time. The agent to show him round was already waiting. He took him inside the flat on the second floor. Kunle was appalled at what he saw. They went in and out of rooms, and Kunle got more and more horrified with each issue he noticed. They were now back in the sitting room, standing opposite the front door, which had been left open. As he was speaking to the guy and pointing out what was probably the 19th issue he had observed, he stopped mid-sentence as he saw a gorgeous, drop-dead, beautiful young lady rush to open the door of the apartment opposite the one he was being shown. Kunle was transfixed. Who in the world was that? He quickly rushed out of the apartment he was checking and said to the lady, hey, hi, hello, I'm Kunle. The girl looked at him like he had lost his mind. Then she spoke, and he had to lean against the wall just to maintain his composure. Her voice was heaven, although what she said wasn't angelic at all. Do I know you? She said with a scowl. Kunle found himself stuttering for the first time in his life. No, I just think you're gorgeous. Up till now, Chinwe still laughs at him about that corny line. On the day in question, though, she didn't even smile. Thank you. I need to enter my house now. I have something important to do. She didn't wait for his response. She slammed the door in his face. He didn't skip a bit as he went back into the dilapidated flat he was being shown and said, I'll take it. That's the end of my second reading. And so why I like to read this part, again, I'm introducing another character. This is Kunle, which eventually becomes, her best friend, her neighbor, and we see why he's her neighbor. This book wasn't written with romance in mind, and you can see from this part there's some kind of romance thing going on, at least from Kunle's end. But what I found out in this life is that whether it's in war or facing poverty or even under the bridge in the middle of nowhere, human beings always seem to find some form of attraction or love. And so as someone who loves love, it was inevitable not to fuse that in the book, even though I wasn't planning to. So while this book isn't written with romance in mind, nor is that the main thing, those who love love will see it woven in and create their own tapestry. And while those who like high stakes, suspense, and the harder things of life will find them in the fragments that make up the story in this book. And you contemplate deeply about that. So this is what I really love the most, that this book will appeal to different genres, genders, generation, for different reasons that would only be obvious to those who are interested in those things. So this part just is showing us that romance or love angle. And then my last excerpt is moving on now to page 155. Chief Oshinawa suddenly got up. He seemed outraged. You know what, you thugs? Kill us if you want to kill us and stop elongating the process. I'm not afraid to die. I have lived a long and good life, unlike you young thugs just wasting your life and going around killing people. One of the mercenaries started to laugh. A good life? Did you say a good life? Not to worry, old man. You will die. But you're not going to have it as easy as, and I won't mention the name not to spoil it. The mercenary stood up and walked towards him. The mercenary towered over him, but Chief Oshinowo could only see his eyes, which were filled with pain and extreme hatred. Let me tell you a story, he said, facing Chief Oshinowo, but loud enough so everyone could hear. Once upon a time, there was a young man, loving, caring, carefree, trusting, and extremely friendly to everyone. He grew up in Delta, but came to Lagos when he was 18. His parents were very poor, but had gathered all their savings so their son could come to Lagos to make a living and help the family. The boy came and hustled, doing everything he could. He finally raised a little money and was able to send for his baby sister to come join him in Lagos. She was just 15, but the most beautiful girl in the world. She was very innocent, kind, and dreamed of becoming a wife and a mother. She loved children and they loved her too. The young man protected her and finally saved enough for her to enroll into university 2 years later. He had never had the opportunity to go to the university, but he was determined that his beautiful, innocent baby sister would be given the opportunity. She found a place nearer campus to live. He didn't want her living in a place different from where he was, but she begged to be able to experience the campus life and also be near enough to participate in tutorials after class. He allowed her, working night and day to pay for her school fees and supplies while also supporting Mama and Papa back home in Delta. His baby sister told him she felt bad that she wasn't doing anything to bring him money to help as well. He told her not to worry, he just wanted her to be happy, but she wanted to be useful. Her roommate introduced her to a young man. The young man told her she was the most beautiful girl on campus and that she could make money with her beauty. She could do beauty pageants or modeling and be paid a lot. She believed she would finally be able to help her brother. He introduced her to his friend, who said he had the right person to get her started on her modeling career. She was to dress like a model because they had to be sure she had the figure and skin for all types of jobs. She had only seen pictures of models in the magazines. He bought her the outfit and they went for the meeting. Once upon a time, there was an old man who lived a good life, using girls young enough to be his daughters and promising to marry them, even though he was already married. He took advantage of this young girl at their very first meeting. She said no, but he convinced her she meant yes. He told her she was pure and that she was what he was looking for so he could marry and have babies. The sweet, innocent girl believed. Where she came from, second wives were treated very well. She fell in love with this old man who had taken advantage of her and was old enough to know better. When she told her brother everything, the mistake he made was not making her move back to his place. He was negligent, and for that, he will always be in torment. He was busy with his work, he didn't notice the signs. 2 months later, he was called and told his baby sister had bled to death, alone in a flat shed with two others. What happened? How did she die? He had questions no one could answer. He took her body and belongings home to tell her parents the sad news. They disowned him and told him he had taken their baby to Lagos alive and now he was bringing her back dead. A part of him died that day too. Everyone listened with rapt attention. Chinwe was moved to tears by the story. The mercenary's eyes had gotten redder, but only Chief Oshinawa could see it. The mercenary was crying. The mercenary cleared his throat and said, "Let me make some introductions." So I'm going to stop there. That's the third reading. And so for this part, and why I chose to read this again, just to show you some of what most of everything that's happening is in that restaurant, and you start to get the idea for those who haven't read it, and of course those who've read it know exactly what is happening. But I chose this part because this book explores a lot of themes. It's fiction, but fiction mirrors reality. And so for this particular part, there are many questions people ask about, are you a killer? Why would you do this? Even if somebody, hurt you, is this story, is it big enough to something, extreme? And so it reminds me of, a story, something that happened. My husband, David Ashiru, Lubinga David Ashiru, who's on this call. is an executive coach amongst the many things he does. So he coaches vice presidents, C-suite in multinationals. And so one day he was doing a training. He was facilitating the training with a big multinational and the executive team. And he was teaching on the Johari window. For those who are in management, you may know what that is. If you don't, it's a psychological model that helps people understand their self-awareness, right, and communication styles. So the Johari window basically says that there are four windows for every human being, right? And the four windows are, there's the open, which is things about yourself you know and others know, right? There's the hidden, things that you know about yourself but people don't. There's the blind spot, like most of us know, things that others know about you that you don't. And then there's the unknown. These are the things that are unknown to everyone, including yourself. Right. So he was teaching about this, and then just to give an example, he called one of the executives, the C-level executives, a South African gentleman, and he says, Jeff, you have a killer instinct. Jeff was like, no, you know. Now, my husband had been told by another executive that Jeff had a son who had just graduated from aviation school as a pilot. So, my husband continued and said, by the way, congrats on your son's graduation as a pilot. Jeff said, thank you. He was probably wondering how my husband knew that. But anyway, my husband continued. He said, let me paint you a scenario. Imagine on the night, this is past now. So he said, imagine on the night of graduation, your son, to celebrate this milestone, the years of fees, everything, is out with friends celebrating the amazing milestone. And afterwards, they're heading back home. And then a drunk driver runs into them, an accident ensues, and your son dies. As devastated as you are, you expect that the justice system in South Africa, which is where the man was from, will take control. But then you hear that the judge acquits the drunk driver. Of course, Jeff, you're probably angry, but you would have let it go, maybe, eventually. But then you find out that the judge and the drunk driver were actually bosom friends. What will you do? Without even knowing it, Jeff just, I will kill him. I will kill him. And everyone started but like Jeff had gotten carried away. And so my husband was just trying to prove, and I was there that day, that everyone has an aspect of themselves that they don't know. And this is the unknown window. So it's easy to say that, I could never do this. Why react this way to betrayal and to all of that? But the Johari window says that perhaps we all could do things that we may not accept that we'll do. So I like that part. And a lot of this book, explores that theme as well. So time check. Tell me, how many of my 45 minutes have I used? Because I want people to
Please
ask.
feel free. Just go ahead. Just feel free.
Okay.
Let it flow. Yes.
So just some, and if you have comments or questions, you can put it in the chat, and then as we go along, we'll talk. So the themes explored in Fogart, Fragments of Glass and Time, there's so many. I will just name a few. There's betrayal in it. I don't want to spoil it, so I won't tell you some of the things, but there's betrayal. There are also aspects about Nigeria, right? Police. Is the police good or bad? Really? Corruption, justice. There are themes of romance explored, like I mentioned. There are themes of singleness and the God when syndrome. I don't know if there are any singles here. Like, God, when will I find my spouse? When will I? And I remember Tommy joked when she was reading this book. She was like, you see, it can never happen to her because if she has been stood up twice, why would she go for the third date? But if you are in a situation where it's God when, you can go for 9 dates. Just maybe the ninth one is God's miracle. You never know. So there are themes of that as well. There are themes around professionalism in the workplace. There's a character called Fadeke, and some of the secrets that she inadvertently released that caused a series of actions. There's a theme about young girls forced into a certain type of life, right? Is there an excuse? Is there really a reason? I just read an excerpt about this young girl, and she just wanted to help her family. She's coming from a background where it's okay. I can be a second wife. There's nothing, it's done, and she just needed the money, right? So there's that. And then there's also the angle of the old men who don't see these girls. Yes, okay, I'm just having fun, I'm just having this. But if you really, and when you read the book, you will see some of this. If you picture that girl as your daughter or another man doing that, would you still do the same thing? It's choice. So this book is about choices. It's not judging, but it's just exploring the choices we make. There are themes around friendship and loyalty. Olu, say what you may, even though he was betrayed, somehow in the future had this bond with two other guys and they were loyal to the end. So somebody who had been betrayed still found a way to build a bond of loyalty. So friendships and loyalty is also explored. Poverty and consequences of poverty. Like I said, it's okay to say, hey, why would somebody steal? Why would this? If you haven't eaten for 7, 8 days, or forget yourself, if your children haven't eaten for 7 or 8 days, would you steal? Or would you let them starve to death? I don't know. Poverty, consequences. Rich versus poor is shown here because Olu started off very poor, then very rich, then very poor. And then we see how life works and how the rich treat the poor and how the poor treat the rich. There are themes around hearing God. So this book, a lot of people who know me know that I'm a Christian. This is not necessarily, it's not even a Christian book, but somebody said that, oh, they were expecting like, a book written by you would be Christian. It wasn't that. Actually, the part about God that came in wasn't even planned, but I guess you write what you know. But it's also explored about hearing God, regardless of whether you're Christian, non-Christian, atheist. Is there really that divine presence that leads you or guides you? Can it help you in a moment of death? It's explored. And secrets and the seeds that we sow. And we explore this around judgment, because the whole restaurant thing was like Judgment Day, right? And so things you think are hidden, will they eventually be exposed? And when they are, what would that look like? And of course, themes explored also humor. This book made a lot of people laugh. I was writing it and I was laughing. There were parts that were like literally hilarious, and not just humor. The Nigerian spirit of the love for gist. You're about to die, and yet you still want to know what happened just before you die. Like, okay, kill me, but can you tell me what happened before I die? Like, all of that is shown here, and then you find yourself laughing. So those are the themes explored in Fragments of Glass and Time. Like I said, so many things for every kind of person. And so I think I would want to stop here because I feel like I've been talking for so long, and I will um, maybe hand over to Tommy for a few words again.
Yes. Thanks, Omwale. In fact, as you were still speaking, I was still laughing. Even from the chat room, somebody wants to know what Chinwe's crime, what Chinwe's offense was. So when I was reading it too, I was hoping to see what Chinwe had done in her other life to warrant Olu, coming there and, threatening her and the others, the mercenaries and all of those things. So I was even cracking a joke on the chat. So someone said, is finding love a crime? I said it's just humor. She didn't find love. That's why she was stood up 3 times and she was still going to the restaurant. But I love love, like you said. I love suspense. So everything about the book, comes actually everything comes together for me. The suspense, I like suspense. I like Amebo as well. Okay. When they were telling each person, I don't want to be a spoiler too, because I know some people haven't read it. So when they were telling each person what they did, I was curious, just like that last person at the restaurant, that okay, now die we do, but let me have this last juice before, so that sort of thing. So somebody is asking, Madam Nora Ogunsoya is asking that what was Chinwe's offense? I don't know, maybe is a direct question or a rhetorical question, but the
I'm sure
book
it's a
does,
rhetorical
yeah,
question.
exactly. I'm sure it is. That's why I cracked
No,
a joke
Nora,
to say
I see you.
they find
Nora,
love.
Nora, thank you. Nora is also a published author, whom I know. So she's asking, what? So that is part of what you need to find out. And actually, let me say this without revealing anything. A lot of people have read this book, and I get a lot of reviews, and half of them are like, "So what did Chinwe do?" And I thought it was actually obvious, but apparently it wasn't obvious to many people. People finish the book and they're like, okay, but I don't get. And I'm like, it's there. Just dig. There's some hints. There's some clue. And then some other half. Guess what? The people that seemed to figure out what Chinwe did were the younger readers. So I have 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, 12-year-olds who've read the book. Somebody even did a video and sent it to me, and they seem to really catch on immediately to what Chinwe's crime was. Some other people, maybe they were overthinking, that's why they couldn't see. So I will just leave it as um Chinwe didn't do something directly, but when you read the book, if you haven't read it, it would be good to see if you can figure it out. Maybe for those of us, and again, just to make it interactive, you might not ask questions. I'm curious, how many people on the platform figured out what Chinwe did? Just say I just write I did. Okay. I have to read in my 11-year-old mind. She'll- okay.
Honestly, I have to read with my 12-year-old mind too because I couldn't figure it out. Maybe I
Well,
was too, I don't know.
one person seems to have okay, that's Oinola. So Oinola, you figured it out, right? Yes, I think you did. I think you told me that you figured it out. Anybody else? My uncle is here. Uncle, did you figure it out? Doctor, the esteemed Dr. Shea was who is also hey, what is his royalty?
I didn't figure it out.
Ah, Uncle, but you're a genius. He's a he's a
Omole, are
genius.
you saying for some
Harvard
of us that
trained
didn't
genius.
figure it out, we are not intelligent?
No, no, actually, that's no.
I'm
I'm
just
actually trying to
joking.
tell you that you see, it's not that he is a Harvard trained and he didn't figure it out, which means that it's not about intelligence. That's what I'm trying to say. That you are in good company. That's what I meant.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll leave it at that, and when you read it, you will figure it out, and maybe one on one, I can tell you, so that I won't spoil it for those. But
Okay.
maybe let me. Okay,
I have a
Toby.
few questions before you
All right.
go on. Oh, but let me just ask one question. I'm sure others, if you have questions, you can put it in the chat room or raise your virtual hand. Would love to hear your voice as well, so that it's not just Tewa Moda and myself, speaking. So if you have any questions or comments, you can raise your hand, or if you feel more comfortable, putting in the chat box. So my own question, really, first one, like I said, I have like a million, but the first is what inspired you really to start writing something like a movie? Because I was, when I was reading it, especially the restaurant part, I was actually imagining some restaurants in Lagos. I won't lie, I pictured it. So that's why I kept on saying it was like a movie to me. I pictured it. I pictured Chinwe under the chair. I pictured Chief Oshino under one table. I pictured the waiters. As in that a particular restaurant in VI. To be honest, I won't mention the name,
Okay,
but
afterwards, I want to hear so that when we're casting the movie, we'll know where to put
we will
that.
know where
Maybe
to go. So I
we'll know
don't
where
know.
to go.
I think I don't know. I've told you that maybe I can still be Chinwe. But anyway, what inspired you to set such an intense, and like I said, it was like a movie, cinematic story in Lagos, possibly Victoria Island, yes, Victoria Island, Ikoyi, and specifically in an upscale restaurant, because the restaurant I have in my mind is very upscale. But you can imagine Chinwe or Tommy under the table. But yeah, please. So,
Okay, so yeah, so what inspired me? I think maybe three things inspired me. One is, let me go with the physical one. For what many people may not know this, but people who are my book launch know this, and people who've read the book. This wasn't by choice. I wrote this book for a competition, and so this competition was many years ago, was put up, and we were specifically told to write a Nigerian story, that would appeal to young Nigerians, and we should use Nigerian lingua and slangs and all of that. So that kind of, I didn't have a choice, because I love stories, but my first book probably wouldn't have been fiction, because I do a lot more in personal development and coaching and all of that. So that was the first inspiration, right? So I needed to do something Nigerian. That doesn't explain why it's the intense and all of that, but that was one. The second one is me, because they say write what you know. I'm a movie buff, which is probably why the book reads like a movie. I'm a movie buff, and my entire family is. So I see things as movies. Actually, even my life, there was something I used to have on my laptop, just as a young analyst when I first started working, and it was my screensaver. It was like, my life is your life is a movie, and you are the star of the movie. That's the way I see my life as well. Like, my life is a movie, and so I think in movies. That's the way I think. And so I guess that also inspired a lot of the, and movies always have action twists, and at least depending on the kind of movie. So was one. And then the third part is the spiritual angle, which is God. And I say this because I wrote this book in 2 weeks. And I know that was by divine inspiration. And like I tell people that it was as if God himself was just downloading the story. It was like as if I was watching it. I wasn't thinking about it. I was just writing, and the story was unfolding to me. So the inspiration was also divine. That's the way I put it. So those are three things that inspired me.
Wow. Thanks, Omowale. And like I said, I like the part of Olu and Chinwe a lot, to be honest. If I were a guy, I would have said I would have loved to act the part of Olu, to be sincere. Because, I like the story. Apart
Mm,
from that revenge part at the restaurant, I'm trying to really imagine a lot of things that went on in his mind and how they were unleashing or speaking. You said something, I noted it. You said, the nemesis catching up with Chief Oshino, secrets and the kind of seeds that we sow. So we should be careful. Yes, somebody may not want to come and come for us like that. But, in life generally, I think I've not come to the part of saying, what are the lessons in this book, but I'm just thinking, there are a lot of lessons, but Olu's revenge plan is a bit extreme. Very extreme. As in, I'm not sure it's fiction anyway. So I don't know. I'm just thinking, what drew you to explore the psychology of revenge and the cost that it carries?
okay, I mean, great question. Um, and I kind of alluded to this earlier on when I talked about the Johari window and the unknown. So I think for me, one of the things that like I said, fiction mirrors life. So some people say, "Oh, I don't read fiction, I just read." But the truth is that fiction, everything that is real right now, actually possibly started off as someone's fantasy or dream. Like even the things that we see now. And I always joke about the Wright brothers who created the plane, or who invented
First
the
play.
plane.
Mm.
It was probably a fantasy. Like I'd like to fly in the sky, and and if they wrote a book saying they were flying in the sky, it would be shelved under fiction as well. So for me, fiction mirrors life, and it helps you to explore real life things, but in a story form that is not pointing fingers at any particular person. But when you really look at it, it's pointing fingers at you. So the reason it may look extreme, but this happens every day. It's not because we're reading it, it seems extreme, but it really does happen every day. People are betrayed, people are hurt, and people have different ways of reacting. And so we see this, I mean, in maybe in places like Nigeria and Africa, we would see it more from the spiritual angle. They have done something to me, but it's all part of it, right? So I don't think it was extreme. It looks extreme because it's fiction, but it really is what happens in real life. Maybe they may not shoot guns, but people go, like, let me bring it to I'll bring it to the African context. People go and see babas somewhere to kill their enemies. I mean, every one of us have family that has extreme. Isn't that kind of extreme? Now, let's bring it to Tommy. You said you're a Christian, and this is started by church. We have Christians who pray every day and they say, "My enemy must die, my enemy must die, my this." But
If
maybe
they
they're
don't
like,
repent, if they don't repent.
maybe that's you. You add that. Not everybody adds that. You add that. I've heard people pray. They are not even willing for the enemies to repent. And I'm not here to judge, but I'm just saying that's another Olu, even in the church. So, is it really extreme, or is it really what happens, just in different ways? I wanted to explore that.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. And since I want to be a Chinwe, if this movie is going to, I can't be a movie director, so I will just be an actress. So Chinwe seems to sort of symbolize innocence, And for me, she was caught in this crossfire because I still cannot put my hand to or say this is the reason why Olu did that to her. Or Ilola says she wants to act
You
as
also
well.
like it.
So I don't know. I just feel she's innocent. Maybe I should read it a second and a third or a fourth time. Then maybe with my 12-year-old teenage mind, and maybe I will see the reason why Chinwe was caught up in this crossfire. But how did you sort of craft her character to serve as a counterweight to Olu's bitterness, really? And was this deliberate?
Yes. The first thing is that bad things happen to good people, and that's life. So that's also what I wanted to show. You could be seemingly innocent, and yet the actions of people that you know or you don't you bear the consequence, right? Which is in a way where Chinwe found herself. And that is the reality of life. So maybe no one is really innocent at the end of the day, because you don't know, you don't know what your father did, your mother did, your brother did, that will come to, you know, bite you back. And and I have real life stories about this. I mean, you told me we went to the same secondary school. I went to boarding school, and I know some people. In fact, my auntie told me this once. She went to a boarding school, not our school, and she was a boarding house. And she said there was this senior that was so wicked, so wicked to her. Years later, this my auntie, as a 40 something, almost 50-year-old woman, said when she heard that the senior, I don't know what, something bad happened, she was like, very good. And then she's like, oh my God, she's very, but that's just to, she was, the thing happened to, not to the senior, to the senior's child, but she was feeling like, yes, good for the child. That child did nothing except have a wicked well, wicked in quotes. The mother was wicked in boarding school, but she was a child as well. So was Chinwe really innocent? We don't know. The second thing, there was something Olu said to Chinwe when Chinwe spoke to him, and he was like, oh, almost like, oh, I'm sorry for everything you've lost. I'm trying to just placate him. And he said, what have you ever lost?
Mm.
And she had to say, well, it's true, I haven't. So you may think you are innocent, but it's because you really haven't been in that position. So maybe that's part of
Right.
what we wanted to explore, that maybe no one is really innocent, and there are unintended consequences from people who we know, or are related to, and all of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. But can you relate all of this story more? Yes, you've spoken. Yes, you've said it. That of course, in a way, relates to Nigerian, trust in the Nigerian society and all of those things. Corruption. There are so many things going on, even in the political
Mm,
realm, so to speak. So the betrayal and its fallouts seem very personal. Well, maybe not seem, they're actually personal because there are things that
mm,
happened to him growing
mm,
up, how his uncle, his dad brought up his younger brother because they
yeah,
had lost their parents and all of those things. And this
yeah,
same brother, when he needed him the most, turned his
yeah,
back, took his money, enjoyed himself with his own family,
yeah,
neglected, his brother and his wife and his children to the extent
yeah,
that his brother died, his wife died, left the children like Olu, and Olu was like, you know what, I'm seeking revenge. I will deal with everybody, all are sundry. So does this story really, really reflect? I know you've said something in the light, but does it
yes,
reflect
yes.
a broader theme about corruption, really, and trust in the Nigerian society?
Yes, yeah, that's the good question. I think the trust angle, I want to take that. And again, I'm bringing again this story. This story is for the world, and the themes here are not unique to Nigeria. But again, it's a Nigerian story, so there are a lot of things here that are Nigerian. Now, unlike maybe a lot of the Western countries, you don't really have a lot of familial, upbringing where people, are taking care of relatives that come to live with them. You have a lot of that in Africa and in Nigeria specifically. So where people have, there's a cousin somewhere that comes to live with you, and you raise the person. So a lot is done for family in places like Nigeria. And so I think that is why, in terms of the trust angle, it's the the you there are more avenues for betrayal, because the people you love the most are the ones that can hurt you the most, right? And so if you've had to take care of people, family, relatives, in a way, there's also some kind of expectation. I don't want to call it entitlement, but yes, I mean, I paid for you, everything you did, so I'm entitled to all of this. And when they don't do that, of course, you feel betrayed. I think that is a very, very, it's very commonplace in Nigeria, and that's why I wanted to bring out that angle, because all of us, almost everyone, Nigeria, maybe Africa, you will find out that you're taking care of one relative or one thing and the other. So fast forward, what happens when they don't do the needful, or they're not there for you? Would you see
Mm,
it as betrayal, or would
mm,
it just be? This is less likely to be the case in Western societies, where people are just there nuclear. Nobody's really, having to take care of it. So everybody's very formal. So there's no feeling of
yeah.
entitlement. So yes, I wanted to bring that. The corruption angle, I'll just be quiet about that one. There's corruption everywhere. Corruption everywhere in the world.
There's
But
corruption everywhere. There's corruption everywhere. Mr. Ken Okochi is asking, he said, does the story suggest that trust, once it's broken, can never truly be restored? You know, somebody has, it could be, like you said, it could be family, it could be even friends, best of friends. People will betray you, people will break your heart. It could be an ex, or it could be anything. Do you understand? So, Mr. Ken Okochi is asking in the chat room that does the story suggest that trust, once broken, can never truly be restored? What are your thoughts?
Mr. Ken, that's a very fantastic question. I want to throw it to everybody so that it's not just, I mean, I'm not the authority on this. I wrote a book exploring all these themes. I would like to hear from what are people's opinions on that. Can trust, once broken, I mean, to this extent, can it truly be restored? Maybe people can speak to that, either
Yes,
from
maybe.
experience or
Yeah, we can raise our virtual hands, like I said. But for me, while we are looking at those who are raising up their virtual hands, for me, I'm not really sure. But there's the adage that says, once bitten, twice shy. Me, once bitten, it can be even 10 times shy. Some are saying no, that it can never be restored. Some others are saying the answer is yes, it can be restored. But I think it depends again. I'm not an authority as well, but it depends again on the gravity of what has been done and the closeness of the person to you. Because you're about to say, Kokoro tó ń jẹ̀fọ́, inú ẹ̀fọ́ ló wà. I don't know if you understand. The insect that is eating the vegetable is actually inside the vegetable. So are you going to keep forgiving and forgiving? I don't know. Somebody else is saying that can a broken mug that is glued back together ever be the same? Good question.
So I think let's hear because that's my auntie, Dr. Alera. What's auntie? She's here. She's the wife to my esteemed uncle as well. She was one of the first people to read the book, actually, and she read it in like an hour. She's an avid reader. So, auntie, maybe you talk more about this because you say no.
I want them to talk, but it seems like they are more comfortable chatting. But yes,
no,
please.
she talks very well. I want to hear from her, auntie.
Okay, Auntie Alera, please unmute your mic.
Well, that's exactly what I'm afraid to do because once I start talking, I can't be stopped.
Please continue, ma.
It's a very crucial question, and I think we really need to be honest about it because that is the reason why, and I hate to go into, I mean, I do love being spiritual, but I'm not here to proselytize, but that's the reason why it takes for God to forgive us, and then he asks us to forgive others as we have been forgiven. Now, if it was such a big issue, because the issue of restoring trust is really a matter of total and complete forgiveness of the God type. I'm not God. I will remember. It will affect, that is what it is bound to do. It is going to affect the way I behave, the way I react, and everything. Now, I will try desperately hard, because I want to go to heaven, to try and behave in a manner, as we say, what would Jesus do? But can trust ever be restored? Is a simple answer. No.
Auntie Alera, I like the part that you said, what will Jesus do? Because I've heard that so many times as well. Then one day I answered somebody, the person said, Tommy, you need to put this behind you. You need to do this. I said, I'm a Christian. Just like Auntie Alera said, I am not Jesus. But you said, what will Jesus do? But I said, just Jesus himself, through Lucifer now, away. So you never can really tell what Jesus will do. So why are you telling me what will Jesus do? Okay, I am not Jesus. I did not die for your sins.
I think there's somebody's hands up. Very interesting.
It's on mute, Greatness Zunguza, but we are
all the way from South Africa. That's my best
from South Africa.
My bestie from South Africa.
Good evening to everyone. Good evening, Tewa and the good doctor. I've really enjoyed this hour. I have been putting off buying this book, but as Tewa was reading, I really got inspired to get myself one from Amazon. So I'll be reading it tonight. I have a 14-year daughter, so I'm hoping she can enjoy it. But on the question being asked, can trust be rebuilt? Look, I think nothing is impossible, right? But we also know that when people show you who they are, you have to believe them. So it will be incredibly hard to rebuild the trust. But if the relationship is important and both parties are committed to rebuilding the trust, it can. It's just going to be a long and hard journey that some of us might not be prepared to go through. But it was an exciting. I enjoyed being here, and all the best to everybody. I hope those who haven't bought the book can get themselves a copy. Take care.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. And somebody wrote here that no, it's difficult to restore a broken trust. That's Obus. Adiola said, Tommy answered it accurately. Yes, it really depends on the gravity of the betrayal, which is where I was coming to. So, yes, you can forgive, trust can be restored. Yes, I believe strongly about that. Although I believe more strongly about once bitten, 10 times run away, 10 times shy. Like Auntie Laura said, somebody has shown you who they are. What else are you looking for again? But again,
But what if
so
they've changed? People change all the time. So they've shown you who they are. Are you suggesting people don't grow and don't change? The person
yes,
at
people
fault are they the
grow.
same?
Yeah, people grow and people change, which is why I say again, it depends on the gravity. You can't, it depends on the gravity. I keep saying that. If it's something, of course, a lot of people have hurt us. Even us, we've hurt other people, but we are still friends today, in quote. It doesn't mean that they will say forever and ever, I will not talk to Mawale or Tomi anymore. Do you understand?
I did
Because we are
audio.
growing, we are evolving. Do you understand? Because we too, we must have, even unknowingly, you might have done something to someone. Do you understand? Which is why I said the gravity. If it is weighty, that means you knew what you were doing. So there are some different, that's why I said there are different aspects to this. But let's hear from Sheyi, and then
Uncle
we'll take
Sheyi Robert.
Adiola.
He's royalty.
Uncle
He's
Sheyi
Oba,
Roberts.
Oba, my
Oh, okay, Uncle Sheyi.
Oba in
Please
there.
unmute.
Uncle, please, we're
Hello.
hailing you.
Uncle Sheyi, please speak.
Okay, yes. Omowale. Yeah, my question is just a simple one. Why was Shegun, why did Shegun have to suffer such a terrible consequence? He took Yvonne for an abortion. How about the doctor who actually killed her, who did the botched abortion? Why wasn't he? To me, Shegun's crime, I mean, in quotes, is he may have been a pimp, but he was only trying to help the girl to get rid of a pregnancy she didn't want and she didn't need. Why not
Uncle
invite the
Sheyi.
doctor? The
Uncle
doctor,
Sheyi, who took her to chief, to a married man?
the pimp, that's a misdemeanor. That's not a
And but who took her to the shoddy doctor too? Because
the
maybe
shoddy
he should
doctor.
have taken her.
Where is the shoddy doctor? Why did they invite him?
One leg.
Who actually killed her?
But that's a different angle. It's funny you should say that. I never thought about that. Maybe because Ogushe is a doctor, that's why he's thinking like he's thinking from that
Yes.
lens. Like the doctor should be
It
punished for doing
was a
rubbish.
bot job. I mean, seriously, an abortion is actually safe in the hands of a competent doctor. When someone died from a simple abortion like that, that's a very bad doctor. That's a bad doctor, and he killed her. That's it. Abortion is safe. I mean, it's done in most countries where it is permitted by law, and it is safe. So the doctor, to me, was culpable. He did something bad. In fact, I was horrified when I was reading the book and I saw the way she bled to death. That this doctor is just
He deserves to be.
He was a crazy doctor.
Anyway, thank you so much. Please, I want to say something to me, if you don't mind. I love this particular contribution, and this is why you should hear from different people, because again, it's what I've been trying to say. We see things as we are, not as they are. Everybody believes a pimp is a criminal. Nobody actually thought about the angle of the doctor who was incompetent to do something. Again, maybe also in our minds, we had felt, the abortion, was in itself was wrong. Maybe that's why we're not thinking that angle. But Uncle has brought another angle. Like if you take somebody somewhere for something they're supposed to do well and they don't do it, who is the real criminal? Like we say in Nigeria, somebody's supposed to build a road, right? They chop the money, share it amongst themselves. The road is not built properly. The driver, the downfall now carries people. They have accident. Who is the real criminal? Is it the person that was driving? Is it the conductor that maybe wasn't, the people that were not using seatbelts? Or is it the person that didn't do the road well? These things are never really straightforward.
Yeah.
Or one person. Thank you so much, Uncle. This is why we should hear from the elders.
Yes. So, Mr. Sonny Enebi says, is Pastor Sonny, let me put it that way. He says, all these are explanations, that the answer to the question is that yes, trust can be restored.
Okay, maybe we should hear more from, will Pastor Sonny be able to, but he's pastor now. I'm biased. I know why he's saying trust can be restored.
Pastor
But I think
Sonny
Adiola, sorry,
says
Adiola has had
that,
a hand up for a while. Adiola has had a
yes, I was going to come to her, but I wanted to go to the platform, then come back as well. So I don't know, Pastor Sonny, do you want to unmute? Do you want to elucidate for that? Do you want to quote some scriptures for us? Or would you rather stay in the chat room? While Pastor Sonny is gathering his thoughts, Adiola, please unmute. Adiola, you can unmute. We can't hear you yet.
I'm really sorry about that. Sorry. Okay. Thank you, Tommy and Moale and everybody else. So, not to overflog the question about trust, I wanted to just add that a lot of times when we talk about trust, for some reason, we think about one side. It takes two. It's a whole process, and it takes two. So it's after all, the trust must have been earned at some point. Now, for the person that now broke it and for it to be earned again, there has to be a process, and it takes two. It takes not just me that maybe you broke my trust, but it also takes you that broke the trust to be able to convince me that there's been a change, you're willing to change. There has to be some
Mm,
kind of communication and
mm,
some commitment to that relationship for me to be able to forgive. It takes two ways, not just one person's responsibility that, oh, your sister did this or your friend this. Forgive and let go. The Bible tells us to do that, but I also feel that it's two-way process. So the person that has done wrong should take responsibility, show that they're willing to change their behavior. And then of course it has to be consistent. I need to see that you're consistent. And then we can start about rebuilding the trust. And it may not go back to the same way, but it's doable. That's my comment.
Okay. Thank you, Adiola. As Adiola was speaking, my mind went somewhere about a friend, something that happened to me a couple of years ago. So yes, I think it's a two-way thing. It depends on the other party. So let me put it this way. So the friend stole something from me, stole in quotes. And I found out the friend got caught, so to speak, in quotes. And I say to the friend, why did you steal from me? And the friend now said, why are you making me now feel like a thief? Are we not like sisters? So because I took it now, you're calling me a thief. Attack. You stole from me something very dear to me. And I found out I didn't, you actually stole. I'm just using the word stole. And I'm telling you, why did you steal from me? I'm not accusing you. I'm like, why did you take this thing? And the next thing was an attack on me. That are we not friends? So you're not telling me that I'm a thief. You're not making me look like a thief. Yeah, started screaming. She didn't stop at that. She told another friend, mutual friends. And of course, the story would have changed by the time she's telling somebody else. Do you understand what I'm saying? But I'm the victim here. You stole from me, and I only asked a question. You could have said, oh, Toby, I'm so sorry. I know that this is actually like stealing, but I needed it. But like you are my friend, and we are like sisters. Joe, don't be offended. That would have probably ended it. But you blew it out of proportion. Do you understand? So I'm just thinking, for me, that kind of trust has shattered, not broken. Somebody, Auntie Alera was saying, can you mend a mug that has broken? So when she was writing that, me, I'm very pictorial in my brain. I imagined a mug that was just cut in two and, put together. You will still see the cracks. I'm talking about shattering. The glass has shattered completely. Fragments of glass. It has scattered all over the kitchen. The thing has broken into pieces. Do you get? How do you put it's like a puzzle now, a jigsaw? So how do you start fitting it in? You have to be a genius to put it back when you're not the manufacturer. So with these few points of mine, let me see if there's anybody else raising up their hands. But while we're at it, we've been saying, even in the WhatsApp platform, we've been imagining ourselves as Chinwe, as Olu, as Kunle. Omowale, who is your favorite character? You, the author.
You know, that's like asking a mother who is her favorite child.
Who is our
Yeah.
favorite child? Answer us. Answer us.
Oh
We
yeah,
want
who
to
is your
know.
own favorite child? You have twins. Who is your
We
favorite
want,
out of the two?
we want to know. We
There
want to
can't be
know.
an answer to this. I'm too vested in it to have it. And I'm saying this with, I mean, I would like to hear this from others because they're not as vested. For me, let me put this one, no jokes. You know, and like the other writers here, so they probably know this. But when you're writing, you have to take a bit. It's like acting a movie. Tommy, I know you were in drama group in QC, which is why you've been wanting to play tune with. But so you understand that you have to sort of like get in character. So I had to sort of play the character of everyone there. And when you get in character, you are vested in that character. So it's a bit difficult for me to say who is my best character because, like you said, everybody had something unique that they needed to bring to this story to explore all the themes I wanted to raise. So from that sense, it will be hard for me to say. I can say my least favorite
Okay, who
character.
is it? I'm
That's
even
interesting.
interested. What's your list? Who is your least favorite?
People like Fadeke are just silly. That's what I'm saying. Fadeke is just silly, So
Ah,
maybe one of those would be yeah. But yeah, but
okay.
it would be good to hear from others.
Okay, so yeah, the floor is open. Please, who is your favorite character? For those that have read, tell us your favorite character and why.
And why? So far, Olu has gotten one vote.
Who is your
Oinola,
favorite?
you have to tell us why.
Abi,
I'm
Oilola,
kind
come
of
and tell
partial
us
to Olu
why.
as well.
So we're waiting. We need to hear from you. Your favorite character and why, for those who have read it. And for those who haven't read it, you've heard a little bit about the book this evening. If you don't remember the name, you can describe the favorite character. Very interesting book.
Speaking of characters, there were a lot of characters in this book. And I think by my count, well, I'm not sure. By my count, we had almost that were named and had a role, possibly almost 30 characters. So even though we've only been hearing about some, and they all played, significant roles.
Oilola, please unmute your mic and speak. We want to hear your voice. You've been sending a lot in the chat room. Please speak. Tell us your favorite character. Tell everybody. Let's hear your voice, please.
Yes, please. Oinola. Also one of the first to read this book.
Yes, I remember.
She's on the move, yes.
Oh, right. That's true. That's true.
She's
That's true.
somewhere between Asia and somewhere.
And she's having fun across all the continents.
So
Okay.
anybody else? I mean, I know those who have read it. I think my husband is on this chat and has not said a single word.
Okay.
Mr. David
Mr.
Ashiru,
David
please
Ashiro,
support our
please.
mother. Can you tell us your favorite character or your least favorite character?
And why?
I'm gonna put him on the spot. Is he there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Hi, Dr. Tomi. Hello, sweetie. My favorite character, now, is Olu now.
Everybody.
Everybody likes Olu because
Yes.
he's
Which
the
is
main
strange.
character.
I
He's the
think
main character.
one of the things that I enjoy in Fogat is if you follow Olu's story, you see a child that started very bad, had a taste of greatness, a taste of wealth, and through no fault of his husband gave his own genetic, lost everything. So yes, while I may not be aligned with his choices and everything, but Olu is my guy. If they would allow me to act, I told me maybe you can help me
Pastor
also
David
talk
Ashiru,
to
they're
them to allow us
questioning
to
you.
act Olu.
They say,
I agree with
they all
Pastor
pastor.
David
Olu is your
Ashiru. Olu is his guy. Honestly, I agree with him because he went through a lot. Forget all those revenge and all of that. He set up OCD. I mean, that impressed
true.
me a lot. Do you understand? He said, I'm not going to tell the people on the platform what OCD is. For those who have not read it, you need to read it. He set up OCD. That wowed me. So, I mean, I just love Olu, but I was just, picturing him in different dimensions, very intelligent guy, set up OCD. He had done different things in life. He picked, he's turned a seemingly, no, well, not seemingly, it was actually a bad situation he was in. He turned it around for the sake of himself and his siblings, But yeah, so he probably just didn't know where to draw the line. But I like the end where himself and Chinwe, in quotes, sort of connected, so to speak. And Chinwe gave him some advice, which I think he took. Uncle Sheyi wants to speak. Let's listen to Uncle Sheyi again.
Yes, and then we want to hear from Onyema because Onyema
I,
likes someone different. So.
I have a slightly different perspective of Olu. Again, the doctor in me is talking here now. Olu is actually a psychopath. Yeah, he is a psychopath. The kind of violence he unleashed, it's not really okay. I understand this antecedents, what he's gone through, and with the challenges and the betrayal, but he's actually a psychopath. So it's someone everybody needs to be careful. You don't want to be married to a guy like that, no matter how much you admire him, because he can go off the handle and go do something totally extreme. So you need to be careful about admiring, bad heroes. He's actually a psychopath. Thank you.
I kind of wait. I know somebody else was talking, but I also slightly disagree a bit. Is he really a psychopath? You also need to remember that Olu was a trained killer. There's a training that comes in that, where you are thinking like, oh, somebody is doing this. To that person, is their training, is a job. It's not them. So could that also have influenced the way he sees these things? This is what they do for a living. They go, they're told to, assassinate this, it's their training. So does that have any role to play? Uncle, I'm asking you as the doctor, in the house.
A lot of people have gone through deprivation, betrayal, and they will not actually act that way. A lot of people would probably, like you said, I mean, it may be something out of faith. They may just forgive the person and say, well, come about here, whatever it is. But to gather people up under the same roof and be shooting them in cold blood, put him through a psychiatric evaluation, they will tell you that he's actually a psychopath.
Uncle, you sound like you want to kill Olu. So I'm not worried.
No, I'm not a psychopath, so I won't kill him.
So Olu is safe from you.
I totally get where Uncle is coming from. Thank you, Uncle Sheyi. I totally get where Uncle is coming from. I don't know, maybe I should call him a psychopath, but I honestly understand. And I also understand why Pastor David Ashiru, says he's my guy. Because from the onset too, I would, put him in that bucket of him being my guy. And like Pastor David Ashiru said, apart from that side, I mean, nobody wants to be a killer, because my first question or comment to you was that, why so extreme? So somebody offended you. The next thing is to gather all the people that have offended you, at least maybe 20 people, and you're shooting them in cold blood. How?
Like we say in Yoruba, kilagbe kileju.
Kileju. Uncle.
I take a girl to help her get an abortion, and I get shot dead.
Uncle Sheyi has gone back there. Uncle Sheyi, but don't forget, okay, let's forget about the abortion part. Uncle Sheyi, don't forget that one of the guys that Olu decided to deal with, because people are afraid to say murder, because that thing is heavy, is his dad's brother. His dad's brother literally killed his father and his mom too. So I'm not saying the revenge is the best way. I'm not agreeing with it. So never. I'm not a killer. I'm not a. But I'm just saying, some.
No. Idola says she wants to reply, Uncle.
My own is that the extreme revenge he took is. I'm just giving you the character of the guy. That doesn't even make him look. He may still be the hero in the movie, But even some of the heroes in great movies that we see, like. What's this guy who goes around shooting people, They are all psychopaths, but we love them. They are heroes. We love them. What's this guy? This muscle building guy. No. The one who became governor of California. Schwarzenegger.
Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I was muted. Yeah.
Yeah, he was acting. What was the series called again? Terminator.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a psychopath. but he's a nice psychopath, So he comes out as a hero figure, but in fact, you need to have a particular mental frame of mind to be able to do the kind of things that you are doing. Shooting somebody in cold blood is not, and not even once, repeatedly.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And even apart from even the actual shooting, like I keep saying, I just imagine the scenario. Imagine just going to a restaurant just to have a nice time with your family or with anybody or with eating, and all of a sudden you see some people all masked up, shooting or even carrying guns. Let's assume they're not even shooting. So imagine that scenario. What do? You don't even know what's going to happen. You're just scared, anxious, you're just full of all sorts of things running through your mind. As people say, you begin to say your last prayers. You say, Kilagbe, what's going on? I just left my house to have a good time. And all of a sudden, I'm in the midst of all this brouhaha.
You
But
fell into those web.
honestly, it is well.
Can we hear from Onyema? Okay, Oyinola wanted to respond to Okushi, but Onyema also, I wanted to hear why Frank is your favorite character. So maybe we take Oyinola's response.
Okay, let's take Oyilola and then Onyema. Oyilola, please go ahead.
Yeah. Hi everyone. So
Doctor Oyinola is a doctor. So doctor versus doctor. Okay, let's hear you.
Okay, so my point is you can't tell people how to react when they're hurt. I completely agree that you shouldn't have gone shooting everyone. But it's pain, as in when you turn, it's pain. So if you're looking at it from that point, my dear butter from all of a sudden had nothing. It went to zero. And the only way he knew, and then he kept going into pain, more pain and more pain. And obviously you could tell that him gathering people around together, the three of them, and then putting everybody in one room, that was his revenge. That was his way of saying, look, as in, well, to him, it's probably his way of healing. It was wrong, but it was his way of healing. So you can't really tell people how to react, but we're hoping that, not everyone will carry a gun. And the other thing about saying that, all the time you say, oh, no, I revenge, oh, no, I revenge. That's just why we're in the situation we are in Nigeria, really. Because in the end, that's what we always say, and allow people to get away with things. I'm in a country right now where, if you misbehave, they'll probably behead you. So, and everybody is on behavior. You can leave your bag, you can leave your laptop, but because they know what would happen if you misbehave.
Okay, so Oyilola, I must not offend you, because if I offend you now, if you go carry guns, because I cannot control the way you react.
We don't know how you react. We can't control. Okay, now different angle.
Another angle. Oh yeah, please, my darling sis, please unmute.
Oh, that's so funny. I also won't want to offend you in any way or manner. Anyway, so I do agree with the doctor, Uncle Shay. Olu is a psychopath. I'm a psychiatrist, so he just fits in. Grief is very selfish, so I agree that yes, you can't determine for someone how you should react when you're hurt and to what extent, but there are laws and things guarding it, and then it depends on like your personality traits and how you can just evolve to become a psychopath. But it's so clear that he's a psychopath, and that was why I felt very uncomfortable when they're talking about Olu and Chinwe's romance. What he did to Chinwe is enough to give PTSD. It's a horrible thing to think that they will end up having a romantic relationship. It's actually something, it's just like we talk about Boko Haram people. They have justifiable rights to, in their own minds, to do what they're doing, but they're psychopaths. And psychopaths is not like they have a mental disorder. It's just that because they're just narcissists that go to the very extreme, that when they're offended, they feel like, why should I be offended? I must get my pound of flesh and go to the way extreme to be able to get that pound of flesh. That's how they're brains are wired. So somebody else could go through what Olu has gone through, will grieve in a very different way, might assert himself in a very different way, but not to kill people the way he killed people. So yes, I really agree with Uncle Shay on that 100%. Then why I like Frank? First of all, Frank creeps on you. You don't expect him to be like the one person that will be the savior and the one person that will be the right foundation for his child, the one person that will do the right thing. So from nowhere, you just see a character like Frank, and then all of a sudden, Frank is not talked about anyway again. Then at the very end, and the subtlety of how Frank just grows on you. So by the time I finished the book, initially I liked Chinwe. Chinwe is so dramatic and so everything. So of course you have no choice but to like and go through all the emotions of Chinwe. But when you meet Frank, you just have no choice to but to love Frank because he's quiet, he's diligent, and he has tentacles that just spread. And one of Olu's saving grace, because it actually made that's the only thing that actually redeemed Olu a bit, that he made a mistake. He doesn't know it all. And in the process of making a mistake, he might be endangering other people's lives. So I really like Frank.
Thank you, yeah, ma'am. I mean, very spot on. And I'm still laughing. I'm just reading through the chat room. And so Ken says, Kunle, the self-appointed detective. Honestly, Kunle, the lover man, that they've decided to, there was nothing Kunle didn't do. To be honest, he was actually a self-appointed detective. Funny
Well,
enough,
let's talk. We should
absolutely.
talk about Kunle. What
We should
what
talk
does
about
everyone think
Kunle,
of Kunle?
actually. We should talk about Kunle because he did it for his friend, for Chinwe, for maybe love, because I think he really liked her. But then he went, see how he went to her friend's house and all of that. I'm trying not to
Even
say
now, the police
everything.
almost arrested him because of his.
Honestly, and he was still arguing with them outside and everything. Then all the turns, all the twists, and all the escapades. I mean, I don't even know what word to use right now. That he had to go. He got to the friend's house. The guard, how how you tip a guard, and he just found his way into the house. I'm trying not to say the story so that for those of us who have not read it can read it. But let's talk a little bit about Kunle. Who wants to talk about Kunle? Ken has already set the ball rolling or, in motion. He says, Kunle, the self-appointed detective. Honestly, I can't laugh. He really self-appointed detective. So who thinks, is Kunle your favorite character? Some say Kunle did it for love. Moilola says Kunle did it for love, but yeah, maybe,
Kunle saved Chinwe's life. Somebody
how?
who's iPhone?
Okay, iPhone on
Let's
mute.
know you now.
We want to hear iPhone. We want to be sure that it's not Olu that is on this Zoom platform.
And taking note of those that are talking against him.
Hi, it's
So,
Laide. Hi.
Taking notes, that's
hey,
how we do.
Leo.
That's
Hi.
how we do with you when we are done.
Hey, hi guys. But this was very interesting. I think Kule is just the classic case of the nice guy that never gets the girl. Always. That's the sad story. But it's
Right.
true,
Right. You're right,
I was so
Laide.
sad when the romance started between Chinwe and I was like, oh, with Olu, as much as I liked Olu in his character, I
Was
mean,
there romance between them though?
that boy was hinted. There
It's
was,
like you're
there was a
It
asking
was
hint of
hinted,
it.
and I think Chiwe too liked him. It's
There was
just
a
the
hint
fact.
of that romance, and
Yeah.
I just felt sad that, well, this is a classic. You always get the good guy that never gets the girl, and he practically was the one going for Chinwe, helping her do it. He's been there for her, and I don't know why Chinwe obviously didn't see that and didn't care for him. So
Maybe
But
Chiwe
Lady
was
raises
looking
a
for a
very good
bigger
point.
fish.
Lady raises a very good point, which I want to go back to Uncle Sheyi's point. You know how we always say the good girls always end up liking the bad guys.
bad guys.
So how do we handle this?
Yeah,
Because
so we're rewarding bad behavior. It's a good.
but why do they always like the bad guys? The psycho, according to Uncle Sheyi, the psychopath. You see, we should avoid such people, but it's like the good girls.
Well,
Somebody, Lola said there was no chemistry. No chemistry between Lu and
What
Wu.
you're saying is so true. When we were in university, there were some bad boys. They were the ones who did drugs. They did everything. And the guys just kept falling for them. And then we were the good guys. And we were there saying, are you blind? And they kept falling for these bad boys. I don't know. Well, you are the ladies. Please tell us what attracts you
The law of opposites. Somebody said the law of opposites. Adiola, the law of opposites.
Oh my world! Oh my
But
world!
Inola
Oh
said there was
my.
no chemistry between Kunle and Chinwe. Hey, how did you
But
wait? How did you
Nora
explain
feels that
that?
there was chemistry between Chinwe and Kunle. It's just that Kunle is not the Jim brother. And I agree with Nora. It's not that, I don't know, there was
No, but where
something.
was the chemistry? Oh, Inola said there was no chemistry. Nora says there was chemistry. Please, which part of the book did you see the chemistry? And which part didn't you see the chemistry?
For me, I just felt, we're ladies now. Sometimes you might like a guy, maybe Chinwe just, you are the author. So maybe you had something else at the back of your mind though. But me reading it, I felt Chinwe probably liked him, but maybe not enough. So like Nora said, she was probably looking for somebody Jim. And like Uncle Sheya said, maybe she's looking for that guy. See how she fell into Olu's hands now. But I'm just saying, I just felt she probably liked him. She was looking for something else. Maybe she looked at, okay, he's her friend. They were, I don't know, she probably did. Or maybe she just liked him as a friend.
Can
But
I
I
say
felt,
something? Can I say
yes,
something?
yes,
I
please.
also think the issue with Kunle is I don't think Kunle told Chinwe how he felt. He wasn't upfront. So I think that's the difference between the good guy and the bad guy. The good guy will probably be showing it and not say, oh, I like you. This is how I feel. And, always want to close the deal. The bad guy will want to close the deal. They're like, I like you and we must close this deal. The good guy will still be, I like you. They won't even say it, possibly. And Kunle never expressed it to Chinwe. Was just doing things for her. I don't think he ever told her. So in any of
Oh, Inola said bad guys have lyrics. Sorry, there's something that Matilda is here. She said something. She said, she said the good girls sometimes seek to save or transform the bad boys. That's why they're good girls. They want to do something that is saving the world. And this bad guy is like someone that can be redeemed. So could that also be it, aside from opposites attracting?
Safe, just like Matty said, a bad guy, Lydie said something, that a bad guy will speak. Yes, they will speak, but your action, they say, speaks louder than words. You're telling me you love me, but your action is totally opposite. So I agree with Matty. She says that bad guys will say, but not necessarily show it. Yes or no? Exactly. I agree with you. Because bad guys will tell you, so, but you're not sure if they really do like you. Yes, they're saying it, you just don't know, maybe there's something else they're looking for. So you two are a bit weary. There is this guy. Because in action, he's not showing it, but he's speaking. But a good guy will be showing you love, send you flowers, send you everything, but he's not saying much. He's still acting friendly, maybe not send you flowers, maybe not to that extreme, but it could, maybe on your birthday or something, I don't know. But yeah, so it depends. So that's why I felt Chinwe might like him a little bit. Yes, Kule wasn't speaking, but I don't think she liked him enough. So, but it's not to zero in and say she didn't like him at all. She probably, if maybe Kunle was the Jim type, like someone said, and was more, I don't know, maybe her type. I don't know, maybe, just maybe. Well, that's just my own thoughts about that. One more thing I wanted to ask Omowale, just on a different note. Um, you have spoken a little bit about what inspired the story. I remember that you mentioned that you were supposed to come up with something in 2 weeks. You wrote the book and all of that. I've tried to understand a lot about your thinking. Yes, I might not know everything in your head and how you came about it, because of course it was some inspiration from somewhere. So based on that inspiration from somewhere, how did you just develop your characters? I know that you said that it was maybe inspired by the Holy Spirit. Yeah. So you were writing, but what really helped you? How did you develop these characters? Because I know you are a bit calm. You're not somebody that would go into revenge. I know you
Are
can
you
be a
sure?
lover. Well,
This
you
is
know,
what we're seeing, and we don't
I've known
know.
you for almost 40 years. So I don't know. 40 years is not a joke. But, well, maybe I don't really know you. Mr. David Ashiru, be careful. Pastor Ashiru, be careful. So, do you get? So, I don't know what was on your mind. The
Dr.
story of. I
Tommy,
know. Yes,
didn't I
sir.
tell you about UI mate that read the book and came to her and said, sorry, did I ever do anything to you when we were in UI? Because what you've written here, I need to know now.
Because now it's getting scary. Even me, I'm wondering. I'm getting scared. Oh, Pastor David Ashiru, please, oh, be very careful. Don't offend her. If she says no food tonight, just say, okay, sweetie. Because you just never know what will happen overnight.
Why can't you think I'm Kunle that will do anything for love or
That
Chinwe?
will do
Why you
anything for
automatically
love.
believe? I'm frank. God has done me well. I always be, integrity. Why are you picking the Olu part of this thing?
My goodness. So because I'm just thinking of all the different parts,
Okay.
So where is okay,
Yes.
Omowale, is she a lover girl? I don't really know that
So
part. I'm just, so what really, how did you develop these characters?
okay. So I mean, I already said a bit about it. Watching movies, but I think the other part of it, and maybe people who know me, is I always say I like people. I don't know if that's the right word. I always say I really like people. Like, but I think is I'm really interested in people. I'm very interested in people. The way I always describe it is I see people as like a box of chocolates. I also love chocolates. You know those chocolate boxes that you don't know what you're going to get when you pick one. That's the way I approach people. So I genuinely am very interested in people. Because of this, I've always studied temperaments. My husband knows this. Like from an early age, I studied temperaments. I used to teach on temperaments. The different types of temperaments. So maybe that's also why, for me, it was an extension of that. What are the different kinds of people that we have in life? And I wanted to put, and really what drives them. You really don't know what. Yes, I know Uncle Shay said, oh, he's a psychopath and everything. But okay, what drives the psychopath? What makes the psychopath a psychopath? What is it that is inside? And so for me, that was what I was trying to do with the character. As I said, there were so many characters. It was almost like different types of people, what motivates them, what fuels them, the situations, because that is life. That is life. As we're
Mm,
walking the 200, how many people, 8 billion people we have, no single person is the same. That's 8 billion stories. 8
mm.
billion. So for me, I think that's the inspiration of the character. So if we have 8 billion stories in real life, I mean, 30 characters is nothing. There's plenty more in all shapes and
True.
sizes.
Okay, cool. Okay, we'll soon round up, but I still have two more questions. I don't know. I've been checking the chat room if there are any more questions so that I'm not the one taking over, as it were. But I have two more questions just as we round up. One thing, maybe it's Uncle Sheyi that I should put on the spot. Or anybody else on the platform, really. What would you have done in Olu's place? I don't want to ask Tewa. But what would you have done in Olu's place? Yes, about the uncle, about the other people, about the other things, at the restaurant, whatever it
Well,
is.
since you've asked me,
Shay?
I mean, what I would have done was I probably I would have done what Olu did by gathering them all together in the restaurant and then tell them the story of their life. But I won't shoot them.
You
I
won't
will
kill
put
them.
them to shame. And I would tell them my plan was to kill them, but I would just let them go. And I'm sure by the time they realize they've escaped certain death and then shamed in front of everybody, that would be enough punishment for them. And I would just walk away. That's what I
Uncle
would have done.
Shay, in this our society,
Yes,
you've now left yourself open.
yes,
What if
yes.
they now come for you that, this guy knows our secret, so let's now kill him?
And then
So is that really a good idea to tell all of them that Popo Ashiri yo, ọwọ́ mi ló wà, I will deal with you next time?
they will all gang up and come for you.
Oh, gang up, you don't even know where it's going to come from, you know?
We're not hearing Uncle Well anymore. Is it my network?
Okay, I thought it was my network as well. Yeah, so it's his own, it's from his side.
Okay, Uncle, I think your network is choppy right now. So
Yes,
we'll come back to him.
exactly. So like Lyde said, you've already declared that you are their enemy. And you two, we too, we can't control their reaction.
They may all be
Just
psychopaths.
they can now become psychopaths and say, you know what, let's go. Because Chief Oshino, like when Ilolato has said, will definitely come for you because there's no way, you've told like 10, 20 people that you have their whole ashiri in your hands, there's no way. You cannot escape it. They will
And
look
so what's the
for,
answer now? So if what would people do? Like I like the question you asked me. So if you were
yeah,
Olu, what? Because yes, Uncle Sheyi has given his own point of view. Everybody has said they will kill you. Okay, so what would you do?
yeah. Me, or you're
No,
asking?
I'm asking, as in I'm asking all the other
Okay,
people that are saying.
okay. So yes, we need two people to tell us what they would do in what they would have done in Olu's place, because we are saying it's not nice. Yes, it's not good. You can't
And
just
if you have
repent.
no, we're not saying that. Oh, told me some people may feel like if I was Olu, I will kill them. No judgment. Let's leave.
I'm just
Is
trying to
is Uncle
play.
Sheyi's opinion that he's a psychopath? Maybe they are not. So if
Okay,
that's what
well,
you feel, with your full chest, say it. We'll just avoid you in the future, but you can say it.
let me know the people to be avoiding after this. So tell us, no, truly tell us,
Oh,
what
that
would
says I
you?
don't know. The uncle must
Well,
suffer, sha. So you will kill not all of them, just one person. Okay.
no, the uncle must suffer doesn't mean she's going to kill him. But I
And but
wonder
what
how.
you get
Tell
define the
us, how
suffering
will the
now?
uncle suffer? Because he's living large, he's chopping life.
He's living a good life.
He has taken all Olu's father's money, and he don't forget that he has taken over so many things, and he's doing things on his own, and
And
his
Olu's
family is good.
cousin, you forgot in Olu's cousin, MC Fine. It was based on all of that MC Fine is now, is like the Davido of their time, based on
Exactly.
all of this.
Exactly. I even forgot that part. Right. So you see, so the uncle must suffer how? Is it by fire? By prayer that Father, in the name of Jesus, let him die by fire, like Omoale said at the beginning of the book review.
That one too is a form
You
of
know,
Olu. You are just not shooting the gun. You are telling God to go and kill them. How is that different from Olu?
the prerogative is God now. If God
Uh,
wants, if God
the way
sees,
Christians pray is not
see,
prerogative, it's God.
Omowale, God sees and knows everything. If he knows that something is waiting for you, he can stop it through by stopping the people. But whether it's to kill them or to make their hearts to change, since he can change their heart. Anyhow, God wants to do it. All you know is that you don't want it near you. So whether they die you or they change you, it's now their own prerogative. So Tewa Mother, my question is how you choose or how you chose the names for your characters. As it turns out that I was Miss Oshino before marriage.
False.
You know,
This is also one of my besties. False. Yeah,
now let me
yeah,
make
here.
you laugh
Here is
also. Before you talk about former me, Miss Me Oshino. So Olu and Chiwe, if you notice on the WhatsApp platform, sometimes some people will just send an emoji, laughter and things like that. You may not understand why. There's actually an Olu and there's actually a Chinwe on the
on this
platform.
platform. Please, who is the
No,
Olu? Is the Olu we want to know?
not this particular platform, in the
Okay.
general book club WhatsApp platform. So,
Point them out
so
to
even
us.
when I was talking, anytime I said Chinwe, even when I said Chinwe, Chinwe was stood up 3 times. She sent an emoji laughing. And I knew that was why she was sending it. When I said, Olu, bad guy, apparently Olu sits near me, even in church. He's a member of Trinity House. So,
Use
yeah,
Olu name now.
so
Okay,
Olu
so
and Chiwe. Oh, generally, how did you come about those names? Like they said, Yeah.
actually, this is a very, very good question.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. I don't know. I was thinking about it the other day too, that why did I pick Chinwe? Like somebody said, oh, you were also trying to do the intertribal love thing, Chinwe, Igbo, and that's really good, being inclusive. I was like, I
Okay.
didn't plan it. I didn't plan it. So it's a very good question. I don't know. I don't know how I came up with the names. It just came.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay. Cool.
as they write in books, all names and whatever to reality are all fiction. No names here are based on anybody in real life. That's
Okay.
my
Bolale says that since we
okay.
cannot kill them, we'll have to leave them in quote to God, which Lola mentioned that has brought us to where we are as a people today, because we always leave
Mm,
everything to God, letting bad
exactly.
people off the hook.
Mm-hmm.
So you
Mm-hmm.
see. So that's why we can only take them back to God now and say, in the name of Jesus, die by fire, die by fire. I'm just teasing. I'm just
I will
teasing.
not be, I
Okay,
will not
so
say
are there any more questions? Because I still have one more question before we wrap up. Yeah, so let me see so that I leave the floor for others to speak. Let me see the chat room.
No, we don't have any questions.
No more questions. Okay. Um, I remember I wrote on the platform, on not this platform, on the general book club platform, the WhatsApp platform. I said, I just felt maybe there should be a part two. Let's keep reading. Maybe I was enjoying it too much and I needed more information. I'm just like that last guy because there were some of them at the restaurant that really we didn't know what happened to them or what they did that Olu was seeking revenge for. So I didn't want to make assumptions. Till now, I still don't know what Chinwe did, but I have to go back to read again with my teenage mind. And, but that's an aside, but even the others, I don't know what they did. Why were they held, to ransom, as it were? I'm wondering what happened to the waiters, the waitresses, the owner of the restaurant, if they happen to be there, just things, were there children around? Like I said, I had the picture of a particular restaurant in my mind, and this restaurant has a children's lounge. I'm just wondering, do you understand? So maybe I'm giving you ideas of part two or book two, but you said you don't want to write part two. But again, I'm just
I didn't
wondering.
say I don't want to write part two. I have a
Uh,
part two. Yes, because there are many questions that are yet to be answered.
Unanswered,
Um,
exactly. Yeah.
yes,
So I want to
and
even know whether Kunle hooked up with Chinwe or it was Olu that decided to maybe
exactly,
Olu gave his life to Christ and said, you know what,
exactly. People say people
God.
cannot change, but maybe
So yeah, so you can
that's.
see people, everyone on in the chat room, they're saying yes, they need a part two. There,
Mm.
and all of that. And now
Did
everyone
anyone
is
ever
curious.
ask why it was that restaurant, Le Belle Lotion?
Well,
So yeah, so there are things that are
yeah,
actually in my mind that fueled some of the things I wrote, but I didn't have enough. Maybe I got tired because it was deadline for the thing. Didn't have enough
yeah,
time. I think Oyema gave that feedback. Like the plot wasn't Oyema, I can't remember. Somebody said that the plot should have spent more. I agree because there are many things that actually informed some of the things that happened that are not in the book at all, but they're in my
yeah,
mind, and
yes.
they will be very very shocking when you see like, okay, this now makes sense. So I do
Mm-hmm.
think that yes, that part two
Yeah.
would do.
So there should be a part two or maybe a movie because me, I really want to act. I do have been.
I mean, so I want it to be a movie.
I want to
Am
be
I in a
in the
movie
movie
director?
scene. I want to be in Hollywood. So, just joking. But yeah, so I think there should be a part two, Moali. Tewa Moda. Yeah, movie star. Like yo said, I'm a movie star. Yes, like there. You know me now. I like to act. It's just that I couldn't be in Nollywood. So let's go to Hollywood, or I don't know what we call it now. But anyway. So yes, that's my own final question, part two of this. And you can see that in the chat room, everybody wants it. So the book is still available. So you can reach out to those numbers on that I sent in the chat room here. You can also buy on Amazon. I think we have in Roving Heights. Omale, tell us some more about where we can get your book.
uh okay, maybe that would just have to be, so it's worldwide Amazon, so wherever you are you can order on Amazon and get it. There's a digital version, there's the paperback, and there's now the hard copy which just came out last week. So for the real book lovers who always want to have like the hard cover in your library, you should get that. It's available on Amazon. For those who cannot access Amazon, maybe from Nigeria, you can access on Roving Heights. Physically, you can order and they'll deliver to you. They're in Lagos, Abuja, I can't Port Harcourt. Also, seller.com is also another place you can get it. So for those of you who like digital and don't want to spend too much money, you can get it for half the price, less than half the price actually, on Seller, and you can read the digital version online. And it's yours. So if that's one option as well. Then there's Knowledge in Ibadan, and then I think we'll just put it on the group. So there are all sorts of places, but
Yes. So if you
another.
want to be part of the book club, I've sent a message again in the chat room. There are a lot of information that we'll be passing on. We'll be disseminating different, things happening in the book club, and even with respect to Fragments of Glass and time. Yeah. So we review a book every month, like I said. So for those who joined very late, it's the Tri-Metropolitan Book Club. It's an initiative of Trinity House, and Trinity House is a church. Like I said earlier from the very beginning, it's a church, but it doesn't mean that the book club is just for Christians. It's not just for us. A certain demographics, not faithful, it's not gender, biased and everything. We've had different gentlemen and ladies come review their own books or other people's books. So, lifestyle, health, we learn a lot from medical doctors here, health, lifestyle, how you can live your life properly, the kind of food you eat based on your body type and blood type and all of those things, motivational, leadership, and even religious, talking about different things. We've had a session where we talked about dreams. So we had somebody that really could interpret dreams. He wrote a book on it. And I mean, a lot of other things like that. I mentioned earlier also that these book reviews are usually virtual, but we've had a few physical book reviews. And the first one was during the first year anniversary of this book club, where we had Professor Wale Shoyinka. I'm always excited to speak about that. And we've had subsequent physical reviews, although they were not external guests. The only external guest we've had was Professor Wale Shoyinka. So the other book reviews where we go to both club, art club, cilantro, different restaurants and hotels where we sit, gather, have fun, eat, drink, listen to soft music, review books, so that we can meet each other physically as well, not just virtually, so we can put a face to the name and all of that. Yes, you see me virtually, but I think I look a little bit different when you see me physically, I think, and of course, it's only the guest, the moderator, and of course, the host that you'll probably be seeing. So, okay, talking about the host, Pastor Itwa, I checked, he's still not here. Apologies for that. He's usually here to speak a little bit. He's read the book, to speak a little bit about the book, every month. But like I mentioned also very earlier on when we started, so this is an initiative of Trinity House, which is a church. So we have a service tomorrow, is our communion service and ordination service. So where they were about 28 people will be ordained, deacons, assistant deacons, and ministers. So Trinity House is a non-denominational free flow worship center. We have, headquarters at Zion Center, that's in Oniru. We have in Mowe, we have in Ikeja, we have in South Africa, we have in London, and all of those things. So Pastor Itwa is a bit busy now talking to the ordainees. I don't know if that's what they call them, but yes, against tomorrow. So he thought he would have been able to finish on time. I saw his PA, his chief of staff, on the platform. He has left now, so definitely they are Pastor Itwa is unable to join. So anyway, that's it. So please, we've been receiving the messages on those who want to join the platform. We'll add you to the book club platform tonight, and we're happy you to come. But before I round up, finally, would like to take a few words from our guest, our lovely guest, Omowale David Ashiru. The pen name, or I don't know, I think that's what she calls it. It's called Tewa Mother. But for us, that I keep saying, I'm very proud to say that I've known Omowale for almost 40 years. Yes, we know her as Omowale David Ashiru. And I've always loved Omowale and her name. In fact, when I met her almost 40 years ago, she was Omowale Mark Obaba. So now she's David Ashiru. I'm like, why are you having all these sweet,
Compound
sweet
names.
names? What's going on? Sweet, sweet compound names. So, and we're glad to have Pastor David Ashiru on board, supporting his wife and all the uncles, aunties that made us laugh today. The Roberts. Thank you
Our
very much.
friends.
And our friends.
Yes,
And trust me, we posted this on our Queen's College platform. Molly
yes,
and
our
I were in the
kids
same
debate.
class in Queen's College. Yes. And so our friends from Queen's College and
And people from
everybody,
my church, the
and
Covenant
people from my
Initiatives of
church.
the
And I
Good, they're
can tell
here.
you that there are a number of ministers from Trinity House that have been on the platform. One was just leaving now. And I'd like to say thank you to the ministers that have been here. And they were actually in this ordination thing, Pastor. I was supposed to be there also to speak on some things, but I had to excuse myself. But they were there, but they logged in. There were at least 7 or 8 of them that I saw. So really, thank you. And for everybody, the book club members, without you, there can never be a book club. You know, your contributions on the platform, even your direct messages to me, private messaging, honestly, it's been a phenomenal 4 years. But I can promise you that this is our 4th year anniversary. All of us must rock it very, very well. So Omowale will have few words for us before we wrap up for the night. It's almost 8 o'clock, and by 8 o'clock we would wrap up. Thank you once again. Omowale, the floor is yours.
Thank
Tewa.
you. At least
Tewa.
yes, thank you. I mean, I can explain that one. So my name also is Tewa, Omotewa. It's one of my names. And the Tewa Muda, why I decided to use that is because, like I said, I've always loved writing. But I always plan to write nonfiction. My passion, has a lot to do with personal development, just life and lots of motivational stuff. So I actually thought my first books would be on that. And I still intend to write that, but I wanted to separate fiction from nonfiction. So I use Tewa Moda for fiction because I also love stories, and Omowale Davidashu for nonfiction. So that's why I have those two, but they're both my names, Tewa and Omowale. And so thank you for those who have stayed till the end. I do not take this for granted. Tommy, I already thanked you, and Pastor Itwa and the TRI-METROPOLITAN Book Club for having me here. The first fiction book that we have reviewed. So it will be written in the sands of time. It was Fragments of Glass and Time. Yay. Thank you so much for that. And for everyone that has shown up for me, my family, of course, my husband, my family, my friends, my besties, my life fellowship, Covenant Nation just stayed on Covenant Nation generally, and of course my QC babes from people joining from US, Doha, all over the world, and of course the Trinity House people who I don't even know in person, but are also here. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. Please get, and Sibongile, I don't know if she's still on all the way from South Africa. She's also one of my besties. Thank you so, so much. Get the book. But like I said, and last words, this book isn't just for you. Our vision is to distribute 10,000 copies of Fragments of Glass and Time this year. 10,000 people don't necessarily have to buy, but I want it in 10,000 hands because our stories out of Nigeria are important. This is what shapes our culture. People, the young ones, we should have our books on shelves in schools, in libraries, because the stories about who we are. We talk a lot about values and about culture and all of that. The way people know who they are is hearing their stories. We know we all grew up with, people who are my age, Pace Setters, Tales by Moonlight, those kind of things. That's what makes you know where you are from and that identity. And nobody's going to tell our stories for us. So please, 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 this isn't just for you. If you can afford it, and I know that people on this platform can, please try and get at least, 10, 50, 20 copies. You don't have to, you can just donate the money and then we will get it to the schools and to the shelves. But if you want, you can have copies. One of my friends yesterday, I gave her 5. I said, everybody that is doing birthday, that's your birthday present to them, by force or by fire. But please, let's get it, especially to the younger ones. That is my appeal. Let's do something good. Let's get our stories out there, please. Thank you so much.
Thank you once again, Omoale, and thank you, everyone. Oh, then I noticed also some of my colleagues at work. I actually invited them and they came. A few have left, obviously. Yeah, thank you very much for zooming in tonight. Thank you once again. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's 8 o'clock. It's been 2 hours of very interesting discussions. I told you it was going to be a magical night. And I'm happy that we stayed on. Some of us stayed on even up until this time. Thank you very much. I'm sure we got to our destination safely. For the new joiners, they might not understand what I mean by that. But yes, Captain Tewa and Captain Tommy have been flying this plane for the last 2 hours. And yes, we've started the descent and we have now landed. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. See you next month. Have a good evening and enjoy the rest of the weekend. Cheers.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Tommy, we'll have the YouTube recording, right?
Yes,
Yes.
we do.